Alright, next we're going to go over verifying that the 401 is compensating for anti-torque or heading hold mode, or it's just compensating in the proper direction, and that will be set on a little switch on the gyro. Do not adjust this setting right here, just leave it in normal, don't mess with this gyro. Alright, all reversing for the compensation will be done on the gyro itself. Alright, so what you're going to do is, since we have this switch here set that, the up mode is heading hold, go ahead and flip it on. The light should come on. There you go. Light is on. Alright, for proper compensation, if I move the tail left, the slider should go right. If I move the tail right, the slider should go left. It should compensate the opposite direction that I'm pushing this. The slider should go away from the direction that I push. So if I go right, the slider will move left. You really can't tell, can't really make it, visually show you it, but you guys got the idea. Alright, another thing we're going to do with the 401 is we're going to have the 401 over there memorize center of the servo. And since we have this switch set to where the upside is for heading hold and the downside is for rate mode, you're going to cycle the switch 3 times and ending in heading hold. And what's that going to do, here I'll switch it and watch the little light. See how it blinked? What that did was it reprogrammed the gyro to remember what servo center was. Alright, now everything should move the same. Go ahead and re-verify. Alright, next we're going to go into gyro settings. Settings. It's based on your pitch curves and anti-torque, so it could vary. I could tell you where to start and how to adjust. One thing I forgot to go over with the 401, don't use any trim or sub-trim. What's going to happen when you use sub-trim, when you turn the tail, it's going to stop and it's going to give this little bounce back action anytime you do that, because sub-trim is trying to tell a different servo center, and then the gyro doesn't know what it is. It's a pain. I had a big problem with that, and I found out if you don't use sub-trim, it never happens. So my suggestion, and people told me, is don't use any sub-trim and don't use any trim when using the 401. It really works its magic by itself. Alright, we're going to go into the gyro menu. I suggest leaving the second switch here, something below, because sometimes the 401 will like to cut off and the light will go out or light will flash, and all you gotta do is flip the switch 3 times and it'll reset itself. It's pretty easy. It doesn't happen too often, but it does happen. So I suggest keeping the second setting below 50. And for setting number 1, I always fly and idle up, so I set mine to 68. I did start at 70, but once the head speed stayed constant, I didn't need as much. That way, because the RPMs of the rotor system isn't changing as drastic. But I suggest starting at 70. If your tail oscillates a lot at 70, just go down a half a click at a time until it stops. And once it stops, you're done. And then if that's in normal mode, and if you switch to idle up mode, and it starts to oscillate again, go ahead and keep knocking it down. And it depends on which way you fly. You also can set this switch so that in each flying position you'll have 2 different settings. I only fly in one mode, so yeah, that's why I keep it this way. Just remember, if that light goes out or starts flashing, it's not doing its normal job. One thing you can do is you can rotate the sticks back and forth 3 times real fast, and it'll do the same thing. Or do what I do and just flip the switch 3 times, and there you go. Alright, well, we set up the 401 with the 3400. It's not just for the 3400. You can use any servo, and really you could do this even with the stock gyro. The setup for the stock gyro is the same way. You won't have the limit portion, but pretty much works the same way. If you use the stock gyro, a lot of people say, you know, go ahead and move that arm as close to the, you know, the nut as possible, give you a better resolution, and you won't overdrive the slider down here. Now, when you go outside and you go to do your first flight, come up to speed very slow, and try to come real light, because if the helicopter starts to spin on you, that means the gyro is not set to compensate in the proper direction. But if you already made sure that it is, then you shouldn't have that problem. But you know, once you start getting light, you'll watch that tail want to wag on you, and that's where you can go ahead, set down, adjust your gyro, come back up, and keep going up and down until you find that sweet spot. And from there, I mean, you can take the stick and just flip it straight up, and the helicopter will just launch. And the tail would probably not move at all. It's a very good mod. For stock people that want to use the same setup technique for stock, you know, everything is still the same. You won't have the performance as these two right here, but you'll still get a decent hold and, you know, a decent flyability out of it. Other than that, keep flying.